This lesson provides an introduction to network access protection and a network policy server. Previously, when we looked at virtual private networks, I manually enabled a user to always be allowed for dial-in access. However, that's very static. What's better if I can define policies to say, well, if a user is in this group, if a user isn't in this group, if their machine is a member of the domain, then, for example, allow access. Also, I may want to provide authentication to non-Microsoft systems. Imagine an 802.1x wireless network, other VPN connections that aren't Microsoft. And this is known as a Radius server. This is an industry standard, and Microsoft can actually act as a Radius server, providing you actually have the network policy server role installed. Windows Server 2012 can act as a Radius proxy. So this actually allows the Microsoft server to take the initial Radius request and then forward it to other Radius servers that will actually perform the authentication, return the result, and then it can forward those back to those asking clients. Another great feature is regarding the health of a client. So typically we may say, well, if a user is a member of this group, give them access. But how do I know how healthy that client is? How do I know when the last time it patched to Microsoft was? How up to date are the malware definition files? Are the firewall rules enabled? And so with this new era of more and more users bringing in their own machines, users taking machines to coffee shops and McDonald's, wherever, kids using their machines, it's more and more important to make sure we validate the health of a client connecting to our environment before we actually let them connect. And that's what network access protection does. It gives us a method to ask machines for a statement of health, and only if they meet a certain bar of health do we let them connect. And the inbox allows you to say, well, when did you last update the malware definitions? When did you last patch? Is your firewall turned on? But it is possible to extend this and actually do other types of check via other types of system health validators. And this is just inbox. And this works with a number of different types of services that I'm going to cover in a future lesson. But at a really high level, network access protection has health update resources to the client. And effectively, when a client wants to access, maybe wants to get an IP address through DHCP, wants to connect through an 802.1x, it has a number of system health agents. There's a network access protection agent and enforcement clients that make up the client. And the process basically sends this statement of health that's requested to network policy server. It has a system health validator. It checks those requests and gives them a health certificate. And only if a machine is healthy is it allowed on the network. Now that complete process looks like this. So a client requests access, let's say to VPN initially. It's been asked for a statement of health. So the VPN server now asks the network policy server, can this machine have access? It checks with the system health servers, and currently it's not compliant. So the not compliant is returned to the VPN server, which is then told to the client. However, rather than just denying access, which really isn't very useful, network access protection supports a quarantine process. So instead of denying this machine access to the network, it's given access to a subset of the network, a restricted quarantine network that maybe enables it to be patched, that applies policy to turn on the firewall, that gives it the latest malware definitions, makes it healthy, and then sends it back. And the client then requests access again with this updated health status. It then gets approved and then has full access. So this is what network access protection is giving you. And again, this is just one part of what you can do with the network policy server. Primarily, it's enabling you to create very granular policies on controlling access. It acts as that Radius server, it can act as a Radius proxy, and it provides this network access protection component. And it really does fit in very well with the VPN functionality, with direct access. And previously, this was just one role, but VPN and direct access were separated out into that separate remote access role. So they are now two separate components. So this completes the overview of understanding network access protection and network policy server.